moly, Jimbo!
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno.
Holy moly, Jimbo!
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno.
Hello, Friday.
What's up? You made it. It's Friday, which means we put our hats back, kick our feet up, recap on the week, and get all set for the weekend. Breaking news for the wrestling segment. Dude, you're like a wrestling insider. You're not flying on a PJ? Like, you fly amongst the regulars? Damn, 5-hour delay. Well, knowing which part of your country or part of the country that you live in, I saw the weather that was going on yesterday. It's crazy, man. Those tornadoes, holy moly. What's up, Adam? Hope you're doing well. How about the Carolina Hurricanes, man? We are one cup away.
What up, Caniacs? I got a question.
From getting another.
Y'all pumped up for Game 5 of these Eastern Conference Finals?
Getting a Stanley Cup Finals
too.
version of this.
So let's
I can't
sound
wait.
the siren for these Hurricanes.
50,000.
Let's get lit at the Lenny. Come on.
My man, dude. You got to go check this guy out.
On a hockey team.
He does it every game. It's so good. You're just a common man working hard with his hands. Good job. Way to recover. We might have Nooch from Parts Unknown. If not, we will still have a good wrestling segment. No update, Athena. None whatsoever. Yeah, it's kind of on ice right now. It is on ice. So, a couple of like weird stories today. In addition to some Darius Acuff and Kingston Fleming sound that we're going to get into. Talked yesterday a ton about, the point guard of a team, etc. The importance. I'll keep hammering you over the head with what Doug Christie wants at a point guard. Acuff was on with Draymond Green, and his comments were interesting, to say the least. And then we've got Kingston Flemings, who was on during finals coverage at some point this week. Well, I appreciate it. I want it to, but it's not at the top of the list. I'm going to be domestic for a minute. I don't think I'm headed out of the country anytime soon. And then Kingston Flemings, who was on and I thought had a great, much better showing in his interview. Very well, I don't know. I can't say. I have not met either of them, not sat down with them, just evaluated what all of you can evaluate, whether it's the film, whether it's the interviews, etc. But we'll get into that. I also want to talk about Brendan Sorsby. I'm not going to get into the NCAA, but I am going to get into, because I would be a hypocrite if I didn't, with Mike Vrabel. And no, Athena, you don't have to check out. We're not going to talk about that story, but I am going to talk about what we we had a good roundtable about it. Using mental health, we talked about DeMar DeRozan as a little bit of a shield. I'm a little bothered by what Texas Tech's coach is putting out there because, and I am sensitive to this. I've shared my story. Some of you have shared your stories. There's things that go hand in hand with that. And I'm not so sure that Texas Tech is not treating this with the right respect and approach that it deserves. Yes, gambling is an addiction. And if you've been through anything close to that, you have a family member that's been through it. One of the things is to surround yourself with a really good support system. Surround yourself with the right people. Don't put yourself in a situation that could lead to a bad decision. And in this case, you can't have it both ways. If you're Texas Tech saying, he is in recovery, this is going on, but yet you're going to be throwing him and he's choosing to go right back into the situation that somewhat got him in trouble. Now, I'm not going to say that if he's playing football, that automatically means he's gambling, but he's putting himself back into a very similar situation that he was in before. And the Big 12, many other conferences are pushing back. And I'll get to it in a minute, but I think before this is all said and done, we're going to have a different resolution. We're either going to have a different resolution or we're going to know if this recovery from gambling, if this is really serious. Like he is really putting that above everything else because there's the right thing to do. And I think it needs to eventually get there. We'll see. A lot of it's going to be on whether or not the conferences push back on him. Can't let Jay or Jim and Mark Uso. I know, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, why is he not in a PJ? What's up, Paul? Hope you're having a good day. Flores, happy Friday. I know. They are on the brink of elimination. Our dude's going to be singing about a Stanley Cup here in a second. I think we're going 7. I do. That's just me. But, okay. So, in addition to some of the stuff that I've laid out, we've also got to talk about Phil Mickelson. Not sure if you've caught this decline of his public image that was already eroding prior to now, the latest incident, and maybe the most significant of all of the incidents. If you haven't heard about it, we will talk about that as well. So, Fridays, once every 4 weeks on a Friday. I'm pretty regimented in my days for the most part, and hopefully you've had a chance to check out the revamped Kings Court podcast where we're kind of cutting through stuff. We're giving you a little extra audio exclusive. So yesterday, after this show, I put the highlights of the show in, narrated through that, and I also added an open letter to Adam Silver to James Dolan. So make sure you go check that out. Not Fox. Oh my gosh, there's conditioning right there. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you find your podcasts, check it out. There's going to be some more updates coming to that. So, anyways, every once every Friday, one Friday a month. Let's put it that way. One Friday a month, I have my routine. I got to go pick up my meds. I'll maybe get a couple things for the house, and I make my way to Target. And if y'all have been following me on X or even with the wrestling segment, there's a lot of talk about collecting and cards. And that's actually something there was a big appetite for last year in the King's Court. A lot of people wanted to have a car segment. Yes, we have the Fox stuff too. So we've got Mike Brown and Fox yesterday at media availability. So we'll get to that as well. But anyways, or 2 days ago. No, yesterday? Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday at media availability. So anyways, I've talked about, Adam's talked about, he showed you some cards last week. I have been slowly, lightly doing some collecting on the WWE side. But my son loves to collect Pokemon cards. That's his thing. And so I get to Target today and I'm like looking at my watch. I'm like, what is going on? Like the line was around the Target in Elk Grove. I'm like, did I fast forward to Thanksgiving? Is this Black Friday? Am I going to have to wait in that line to pick up a couple of things for the house and pick up my meds? What the heck? And it wasn't just people standing there. People had like setups, like they had been there all night. I had no idea it was like this. People were camped out for this booty. Look at that. The newest Pokemon release. I guess it's like Pokemon. I couldn't get a good look at it because there was like security around the cards. And because people have been waiting like 24 hours. Yeah, icebreakers must be for sale. Waiting for 24 hours to get their hands on one of these packs. Like you couldn't even come near them. In fact, I was talking to one of the Target employees. They're like, there's strict rules. We can't even start opening these cardboard boxes until like 30 minutes before we can actually sell them. But yeah, a line around the building to be the first to get your hands on that many boxes. And I'm sure there's restrictions on how many boxes you can actually buy. Dang, Nick in Fort Wayne. I miss the days you could easily steal Pokemon cards. My wife she collected from day one when they hit the USA, and her mom threw the cards away. Threw them away. They just hit the dumpster. She threw away probably, if I'm being realistic, because I don't think my wife had like the Charmander or whatever the big cards are, probably $10,000 of original first run Pokemon cards here in America. So I know it's a big deal. My son's after like some golden, I don't know what it's called, but there's a new Pokemon out and I had no idea. In that line, you know what's funny about this line? I remember when Pokemon cards came out. Can't believe it's still popular. Wish I still had my original collection. There you go. It's exactly what I'm saying, lifestyle. My wife had a binder of the original collection, and I believe her that her mom threw it away because her mom's thrown my stuff away that was out in one of the sheds. When her mom gets on like a cleaning kick, that's it, man. It's going. I don't care who it belongs to. But it was funny because this line was adults. There wasn't a single kid in this line. Just adult, 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 adult. Like, what do you have to go to? What if you have to go to the bathroom? Like, holy bleep. Do you have to? Does it matter that you get the first box? If you know Target's going to have like 300 boxes, and trust me, I doubt those boxes are cheap because when we buy my son the blaster boxes, shout out to Elk Grove Cards and Comics. Love them. Best mom and pops owners ever. Been going there since I was yay big. When we go there and get his blaster boxes, they're like $40. So that's an entire box of whatever Pokemon released today. So I was thinking, holy bleep, had to share it with somebody. Check this out. Knicks fans have bought on the secondary. There. Okay, so what is it then? You just got a box. There you go. So he's all over it too. Knicks fans on the secondary market have picked up 50 to 60% of the tickets sold for tomorrow's game number 5. Is it going to be a coronation tomorrow in New York. What are you expecting? I looked on Prize Picks. You still have New York as the underdog with a multiplier of, I believe it was 2.24. Might have been closer to 2.4. So, begs the question, are we going to see the Larry O raised tomorrow? My mom threw away a Michael Jordan rookie card. Dude. So I know my parents threw away boxes of cards that had to have been in the garage. I know they were in the garage. And that garage has been cleaned. But you know how you used to put, or at least I used to put with my cards? First off, the Beckett was like the coolest thing ever. It was like, oh my gosh, okay, I just ripped a pack. Yeah, I know if I got something special, but what about like if I got Barry Bonds or like somebody that's a good player and it's a base card, right? You go right to the Beckett and you're looking up the card. Now there's all of these applications that will aggregate the sales of cards in real time, like real good cards that will give you a basis. And it also gives you a number of how many of the rare cards have been ripped versus not ripped and or not brought forward. So anyways, the thing about those boxes is I put like my base cards in those boxes, but you got to think like some of the rookies probably panned out and there was money in those. So I think it's like one of those things. It's a part of growing up. Your parents have to throw your cards away, or at least a portion of your card collection away. Is that Emran guy's shop who was on the pod once? No, that is not Emran's shop. That is, gosh, I can't remember his name. I believe his wife's name's Mary. Elk Grove Cards and Comics off of East Stockton Boulevard. They are great. Awesome. They have been in business for, well, it's where I went. They changed locations. It's where I began collecting cards when I was, I don't know, 10, 11, probably younger than that. That's like, it's where we spent all of our time. Like you would earn money. You'd either go to the BMX shop that was also in the same parking lot and look at the GT bikes and like look at the racing thing that you could put on the front of your bike. Like, can I get a new GT sticker? Do I need some pegs? No, I don't want the cops to pull me over because I have pegs and I'm giving somebody a ride. Like it was back and forth between those two places. Do the Knicks won't try because they want? No, they want to get this done as soon as possible. Not a chance in the world. They want to close this out however they can, as soon as they can. Speaking of the Knicks, Mike Brown
level played a factor in this series. You know,
this was today, by the way.
Not just this series, but our whole playoff run, because there were times when we had our backs against the wall and, you know, there was really no panic. There was no panic from, you know, ownership, from Leon, from the staff, all the way down through the players. And a lot of it starts with the players. And they've been great at trusting or continuing to believe in the process and each other while we kept trying to find ways to help them out. And it's no different with this series. San Antonio's a great team, and, you know, you just got to try to find a way. You got to try to find a way, whether it's by 1 point, a half a point, if they give half a point, or 10 points, you got to try to find a way. And our guys are trying to continue to do that.
On your left, Dan.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. Coach, you've talked so many times over the course of this postseason about that you need to stay desperate, you know, that 0-0 mentality, those sorts of things. Is getting back to that place harder after as emotional a game as Game 4 was, with the highs and the lows and the way it concludes? Is it harder to get back to 0 after a game like that?
It is hard. We're all human, and, you know, it was hard even in the series that we swept. You know, you win 2, 3, 4, 4 or 5 games in a row, and there's a tendency to relax a little bit. And that's just in life. You know, your job, you have success for 10 months straight. You know, maybe you feel like, okay, man, I got this. I know what I'm.
Did Mike Brown just flex? You have success for, I don't know, 10 months straight. Is that a flex?
Like that.
It is hard. We're all human.
All right.
And, you know, it was hard even in the series that we swept. You know, you win 2, 3, 4, 4 or 5 games in a row, and there's a tendency to relax a little bit. And that's just in life. You know, your job, you have success for 10 months straight. You know, maybe you feel like, okay, man, I got this. I know what I'm.
That's a flex. That's a flex by Mike Brown. How about that? So they're going to come in locked in. I don't think you're going to have a big. If there's going to be a hangover from Game 4, it's going to be on San Antonio's side. It's just what I believe. It's what my gut says, and for whatever reason, I have been blessed with the ability to read basketball like we read books. And I've been on teams that have been in that situation on both sides of that. Obviously not at the NBA finals level. It's going to be rough for the Spurs. It's a backbreaker because it's not just that you lost in that fashion. It is also because you are looking straight uphill. And the best thing they can do is compartmentalize and just one quarter at a time. Because if you can play 4 good quarters at home, that might get you back to New York. You play 4 more good quarters. Now it's a coin flip and it's on your home court. So Haunted Horse brings up a good point that Team USA, I did not bring this up, the World Cup for Team USA kicks off tonight, 6 o'clock in Los Angeles. USA has more of a chance to win the World Cup than the Spurs have to come back and win the finals. You know what? There's going to probably be, let me predict this now, there's going to be some really good soccer memes that are going to include Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, probably Wemby as well. Because we're going from flopping in the Western Conference Finals to now a month and a quarter of flopping with the World Cup. I mean, these guys look like they're rolling around on the ground, like their leg has been severed. And then all of a sudden they just get up. I get it. It's straight running. That's how you get rest, but it's a little tiresome. Flores, 10 years apart from the Cavs winning down 3-1. We are due for the Spurs to come back. It was funny. Rob Perez, who we played yesterday, he was comparing the De'Aaron Fox play going to the rim and trying to lay it up to the Kyrie Irving play, where Kyrie was able to get that done in the same manner. So it's funny that you also bring it up. 56, yeah, that's what we were saying. 56%, insane. I will never forget the first time I traded cards when I was like 8. My friend convinced me to give up my Reggie Miller Fleer rookie card for some nonsense. He had a great sales pitch. The things we would trade, man, when we were okay. So first off, good job by you, Lifestyle. You would trade your cards, right? There were, at least when I grew up, and it's funny because when you look back at it, and now collecting cards has kind of morphed a little bit, but it still has some elements of kind of a gambling to a sense, that chase, that excitement. You don't know what you're going to get. You're spending $5-6 and you might be able to pull $100 card. And back in the day, the shops would buy the cards back a lot more common than they would now because the internet wasn't around. So like locally, if somebody was looking for that card, that's where they had to go to get that card. But then I think now it's kids are learning like the actual process and the investment side of it and treating it like a little mini business. At least that's how I'm trying to teach it like my son. Like he's not going to use it to make money, but understand that you have to treat it like a business and assets versus liabilities, etc. But the things we would trade, like when I grew up, it was cards, and then it turned into, even though it's an old school thing, like marbles for a little bit. You'd play marbles, and then anybody remember Pogs? Pogs were the thing, man. That was straight gambling. You would buy your paper Pogs, and you would get whatever you thought was the best slammer. You'd like slam it down. That was straight gambling for sure. But I think the craziest thing I traded was I had a pair of black and red Jordan 12s. Were they 12s? I think they were. Yes, they were 12s. And one of my friends had a white and red pair of Jordan 13s. And I'll never forget. It was like our grad night, and it was for junior high at Disneyland. And we decided to trade shoes. I was so excited about that. That was like my favorite pair of shoes ever. The white and red 13s. Those were fire. If they want a chance, they need a heavy dose of Harper. Mitch Johnson came out today and said that he is still putting the ball in De'Aaron Fox's hands down the stretch. Just like I told you guys yesterday, I said they're not going to sit him. It would be insubordination if you did that. However, I will say what the Carolina Panthers have done, or Carolina Hurricanes, excuse me, have done at the goalie position has been so bizarre. I hit it at the end of the show yesterday. Their regular starter, who had started pretty much all of the playoffs, and then they pulled him part of the way through, I believe it was game 3 in Vegas. It was game 3. And it was because the game was out of hand, and he played really well. It ends up going to overtime, right? But then there's this question. The question's this, like, who's going to be the goaltender now? Are you going to go back to the starter? Are you going to keep playing Bussy, who is the backup? And in game number 4, excuse me, they didn't even dress the regular starter. They didn't even dress him. And Rob Bremnemore was saying it was because they wanted to make sure that he got his rest. He for sure got his rest. And I'm thinking, this is a little fishy. And come to find out, Bussy started again yesterday for Carolina. But hey, sometimes you need to make little switches like that. It was just, instead of coming straight forward and straight up and saying, yeah, we're going to make a change, like, it was just bizarre the way it was handled. Kind of like Sabonis when he came back from the knee injury. And it's like, why isn't he starting? It's a little bit weird. I mean, we get the one game that he didn't start, because that was par for the course for somebody that was coming back. But 2-3 games, what are we doing here? So that was Mike Brown talking. Here is De'Aaron Fox media availability at the finals just a little bit ago.
We're going to have Christian here in the third row in the center on one.
Hey, De'Aaron, Christian Winfield, New York Daily News. Just after the way Game 4 went, just what did the film show you, I guess, about where things went left, and then how do you, I guess, you evaluate your own performance from that game as well?
I mean, for us, it's what are we going to do whenever we get up 10? What are we going to do when we get up 15? Basically, every game we've had, some sort of a lead, and we're down 3-1. So we have to figure out how to sustain those leads, and then we have to figure out how to finish games.
Kelly, front left.
Kelly, go Yahoo Sports. Darren, I think this team has talked about how you've been so important to them all year long in terms of the growth, the intangibles. In terms of a game like that, how do you separate some of the mistakes from the overall, like the belief that you guys have come this far and that bond you have with Mitch?
I mean, I think these games have showed us that we have a chance. Like, it's not like we're just going out there and getting steamrolled. we've had, I think, the largest lead in all 4 games, and we've lost those leads, and game's gotten close. Obviously, we grinded out game 3, but every time we get this lead, it's like that's when the game starts. That's when the game's on. And they've made the bigger plays down the stretch of games. Obviously, game 1, tie game, they get a 10-point lead, and then last game, I mean, their biggest lead was 1. So we have to, like I said before, we have to figure out ways to continue to extend our lead. And when they do make these games close, we have to figure out ways to execute down the stretch. And I think that's where, these games have lied.
Tim, second row on the right.
Tim Reynolds with the AP. De'Aaron, to that end, I guess, which way is the pendulum kind of going now? The fact that, yes, you have had the biggest lead, double-digit leads in all 4 games, chances to win them all, and like you said, you are down 3-1. Is there belief from the fact you've had these leads, or is the frustration creeping in that 3 of them got away?
I mean, obviously it's frustrating to be down, but we still have this belief because we've seen it. We've seen it. We've seen it be done, that teams have come back from 3-1. But I think even with those series, it's like the games that they lost, they were losing by double digits. The games that we're losing, have all been close games. So we still have that belief that we have a chance to win, but we're taking this one game at a time. We're not looking at it as we need to win 3 games. We need to win tomorrow, and then we give ourselves a chance to play another game, and then you look at that next game. But we're not trying to fast forward. We're not trying to take the easy way out, take shortcuts. We're looking at the game tomorrow, and that's the one game that we think about right now.
Jared on your left.
Jared Weiss, The Athletic. They play 5 out so much of the game, and you guys haven't had to see that much of that on the road to this point. How challenging is that defensively, especially like over the course of the game, particularly how like Victor can't spend a ton of time planted in his spot down low, and you guys have all sorts of rear cross matches. Just how has that become a challenge, and how does that lead to some of these leads dying out?
I mean, I think a big part of it is the process that we have. Whenever, you can make shots, you miss shots, whatever, but it's how we're guarding. Whenever we're doing the things that we're supposed to do, we're forcing them into tougher shots. If they make the shots, hats off to them. But when we're doing that and we're forcing them to miss, that's when we're at our best. And then we go and we look at kind of what happened in the second half. Our process wasn't there. And then they're getting open shots. They're getting offensive rebounds because we're out of position. That's the biggest thing for us. Obviously, it's a difficult thing to do over and over and over again. But
the course of the game, particularly how like Victor can't spend a ton of time planted in his spot down low, and you guys have all sorts of rear cross matches. Just how has that become a challenge, and how does that lead to some of these leads dying out?
I mean, I think a big part of it is the process that we have. Whenever, you can make shots, you miss shots, whatever, but it's how we're guarding. Whenever we're doing the things that we're supposed to do, we're forcing them into tougher shots. If they make the shots, hats off to them. But when we're doing that and we're forcing them to miss, that's when we're at our best. And then we go and we look at kind of what happened in the second half. Our process wasn't there. And then they're getting open shots. They're getting offensive rebounds because we're out of position.
Wow. He went there. That is okay. All right. Let's talk about that, De'Aaron. Final play of the game. De'Aaron comes, doubles. This is De'Aaron right here. Doubles. Brunson ends up taking the shot from right about here. As soon as he sees that double, yeah, he's got Wemby on him too. Kind of hard to shoot over, although Brunson had made a shot or two over Wemby before that. But when you put that shot up and De'Aaron leaves to double, and again, his decision to go to the rim was, for me, not as big of a deal as this. And I don't know, but if that Detroit play would have never happened, like those lapses, the basketball IQ lapses sometimes, it happens in every player, but sometimes with Foxy, it happened a little bit more, like early shots, etc. In fact, I went back and I watched a play from last night. I posted it on X where De'Aaron waves off Wemby, a Wemby screen in favor of a Champagnie screen, where if you take Wemby's screen, you have a one-on-one with Karl Anthony Towns. Instead, he gets a one-on-one with OG Anunoby. who was guarding him. But back to what De'Aaron said, on the most important play of the game, because De'Aaron goes here, when this shot goes up, guess what? That is where Dylan Harper is going to go. That is where Vassell is going to go. And now you have Steph Castle on one side of the floor. There is no way De'Aaron's going to make it from over here back to over there to stick Anunoby. And so Castle had to stay with Towns, boxes him out, and Anunoby just goes running start right to the middle. So I you know what? If that's De'Aaron's way of taking responsibility for that play, saying we can't do that, great. I respect the heck out of that. Great stuff, De'Aaron. That's awesome. But if that's like kind of putting it on the team, then no. Let's listen to some more.
That's the biggest thing for us. Obviously, it's a difficult thing to do over and over and over again. But when we're doing those things and we're staying on top of the things that we're supposed to do, we're making it tougher on them offensively.
Sitting in the back right.
De'Aaron, Melvin Carcenti, BasketUSA.com. Following up on that question, why is it so tough to get back to executing your game plan or being in your process when your head is underwater and your opponent is going on a run?
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily when they're going on a run or when they're making shots. It's just it's about us. You know, we're dictating kind of a lot of what's going on, and when we're not doing those things, they're making their run. And like I said, even if the process is right and they're making shots, you want to continue to stick with that process. And there's just things where it's just miscommunication here and there, and then it's kind of a domino effect. You know, when we don't start a possession off the right way, kind of something bad happens at the end of the possession, whether they make a shot or if they get 2-3 extra possessions.
Take final three: Dan, then Tom, and then up here in the front.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. De'Aaron, you've been through a lot in this league, experienced a lot of successes. This kind of level of attention, scrutiny, and a tough finish like the night game 4. What have the last couple of days been like for you, kind of processing the attention, that scrutiny, the tough finish?
I mean, it's not like people have my phone number and can call me. Like, I mean, I don't watch those shows. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. Can't change it now. And
he's so full of it. I'm sorry. I respect De'Aaron, but De'Aaron likes to clap back. I think you can go look at his social media feed and see, and talking about people have my phone number. Didn't he call a local show and clap back at a local host for something they said after the trade? Come on. De'Aaron, you can't do that when you have a history of that, man.
I was just coming up yelling at you in your face about it. So it is what it is. We're trying to move on from that. Obviously, continue to learn from the mistakes that we made and how we lost the lead or how we finished the game poorly. But we think about the next game.
Last question right here in the front.
Morning, Nacho Garcia for Marca. What's in your mind when you think that for tomorrow's game, the Knicks fans, the number of the Knicks fans will be even bigger than in game 1, game 2, and mostly when you think that most of those tickets were sold by Spurs fans? Is something that is in your mind or something to be concerned?
I mean, is that something to be? People making money. It's the economy that we live in. It's the world that we live in. I mean, am I upset about it? No. Do I understand it? Sure. But I don't think that really changes kind of what happens on the court.
Thank you.
Okay. Good job, De'Aaron, handling that one. That was interesting. I find some of those answers very interesting. De'Aaron Fox. Ryno, do you think Wemby should have dropped back and let Fox guard Brunson? Wemby drops to Cat and Castle go to OG? No. Nope. You want Wemby on because, well, let me think about this. No, there's no way you could have Flores because of the angles. Let me put this back up. I don't think it would have worked. And that was what, for me, the double and this is something that I don't think I've said over the last couple days, but the double, the angle was already not there to double Jalen Brunson. And it's perfectly displayed here. Jalen Brunson is already going here. His momentum's that way. The ball's in front of him, which means De'Aaron cannot attack that angle effectively because of where Wemby's at. So Wemby can get here, but De'Aaron's either going to have to go behind Wemby, he's going to have to go through Wemby, or he's going to have to go behind Brunson. So it's a bad angle to do that from. If anything on this play, if you want to talk about dropping, what I think I would have rather seen, and I know you don't help off of the strong side, but if that's what you're thinking about, you need to have, because the backside is where a lot of the long rebounds come from on a three-pointer. So for me, I probably would have rather seen Harper come up. Like if you brought Harper up, Wemby, this would be the only situation I would see Wemby drop a little bit, and that gives Fox a lane to get here with Harper, and now Wemby can play this pass to Chandry or Shambit, excuse me. That would be the only drop situation that I would see, and that would then give De'Aaron. Well, no, it doesn't give you a backside rebound still. See, I just don't like that double in that situation. I have a hard time believing Mitch Johnson wanted that double. The more I look at it, the more people I talk to, working through it, that was not, I don't think that was in the game plan. I think it was something that would, just like a receiver and a quarterback can check to something at the line of scrimmage if they see a certain thing, or Brunson catches the ball in a certain area of the court. Sure, that makes sense, but this was not the right area. If you're talking about a Brunson catch over here, De'Aaron Fox would have had a much better angle, and so would Wemby to gone out there. So no, it's a great question, but I think that was just a bad decision at the end of the day. Could be wrong, but I think it was a bad decision. Assuming each team has a 50% chance of winning and you need the same result 3 times in a row. Peter, dude, you taking me to AP stats again? Is that what you're doing? Taking me to AP stats? It's not that simple, man. I mean, if you're going to say it's 50-50 straight up Spurs, Knicks, I don't think it is. There's a lot more that plays into it, but I see your logic. I do. So there, chokes. What bugs me is that De'Aaron watches him get scored on. You're not the spectator. It was a blown coverage. I think Mitch Johnson is probably protecting De'Aaron there. And, you know, maybe that was De'Aaron's acknowledgement. It very well could have been when De'Aaron said what he said about the coverages in the second opportunities.
Kind of something bad happens at the end of the possession, whether they make a shot or if they get, 2-3 extra possessions.
Maybe that is him acknowledging it. Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I could play the roulette game. I am not liable for what is said in this sound drop, but I do think there is a sound drop where Hoist is talking about something along those lines. Let's see.
Hey, I need some sperm.
Oh, yeah. There you go. See, like, I literally don't know what Haunted Horse is going to say in any of these.
It's cheap, and I like that wide stick.
You know, I know Tristan is laughing at that. So the real play occurred before the inbound pass on the switch from Wemby. Before the inbound pass? I would have to go back and look at the entire thing. No, it's not about if you're going to switch or not. It's about sending a double in that situation. It's such a gray area. And okay, you also have to know your personnel. That's the other thing too. So if I could talk about this play for hours, it's been on my mind since it happened. You have to know situationally who's on the floor and what they're capable of. Bridges can fly in. The guys I'm worried about flying in for a tip in order are Cat, Anunoby, and Bridges. Then Shambit, then Brunson, because Brunson has the ball. And if this was Jose Alvarado, you're not as concerned, right? But it's OG Anunoby. And that's where it's like, okay, you got to know where people, and we go back to what Doug Christie says about point guards, which we're going to transition to here in a sec. So we have audio from Acuff and Kingston Flemings. But I'm going to keep hammering you over the head. Let's put this definition to what a point guard is.
Right off the bat, point guard, this is in this league, if you don't have that position, you really don't have a chance. It's the quarterback. It's, they say quarterback in football and different things, and that's a tough position. But this one is about as difficult as it gets. This is, you're running a team, you're running a show, you're responsible for the guys on the court. You're quarterbacking the defense, you're quarterbacking the offense. This guy needs a shot, that guy needs a shot. When do I need to do my thing? What does the coach want? Am I representing him the right way out here? I'm the head of the snake. There's a lot that goes into that.
It's probably one of Doug's best sound bites all season, if I'm being real about it. No, it was not from last night's episode. That's like a year ago, I think, worse. So here's the first thing. 5.3 seconds left. It really is, when this first happened, I said it's like in the gray to a degree, because Brunson, is there going to be enough time for a tip by the time he's shooting the basketball? It's very much in the gray area. And then also, is it going to be the right bounce? I mean, really, a tip is the only thing that there's going to be enough time for. So you have to be cognizant of that. If Jalen Brunson is getting the catch with 3 seconds left, it's a no-brainer. I'm running Fox at him every day. You're doubling the ball. This is your most dangerous person on the court, hands down. That is the only person on the court that can beat you at that point. But because that's not 3 seconds, unfortunately, it was 5.7. We're at 5.3 on the catch. The angle, your two best offensive rebounders being on this side of the court, on the weak side, with one player to get both those guys, man, it was a miscalculated gamble, and that's where you need to know the personnel. It's an absolute perfect storm. It's an absolute perfect storm. Because if I'm Mitch Johnson, that is a very, very hard decision to make. You almost can't make that decision on the bench. It's got to be a read, because you don't know exactly what they're going to do. What are we going to do if they switch? It had to have been a read. And as we break it down more, and we're a couple of days removed from it, if you just look at this and where we're at, like with the angles, the angle was terrible to double, because Brunson's already, again, ball's forward. He's on his way. So if you're Fox, again, you either have to go around and meet him behind or towards the side. You have to go through Wemby, or you have to go under Wemby, and you're not going under because for obvious reasons. Crazy play. I don't think that it's getting enough attention. But anyways, let's talk about really quick Acuff and Flemings. We've had that discussion. I played the Doug Christie soundbite for you about point guards because that's been the big discussion over, at least on this show, the last few weeks leading up to the draft, all the news that the Kings might want to move up in the draft for Darius Acuff. Darius Acuff joined Draymond Green on his podcast, and I was really, especially because Acuff has acknowledged the fact that he needs to be a better defender. He said that it's an effort thing. I need to put more effort into it. I was kind of floored with what he said to Draymond on the podcast. Here's Acuff.
Yourself as a guy that's coming in like, no, I want to guard my position. How do you look at it?
Yeah, that's how I've always been. You can ask any of my coaches in college, no matter, how much like my defense, mistakes that I made every night, if they tried to put me on a 2 or a 3, I'm like, man, I'm not guarding no 3. Like I play the point, man. I'm guarding the point guard, man. Like, especially if it's like a matchup. Like you not, like if I'm not guarding you, you not guarding me. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no matchup. We just hooping out here. So I'm definitely one of the guys. I like to guard my matchup for sure because I don't want nobody to get off, more than me. So
you come into the league, like show that you want to defend, because when I see these guys come into the league and they don't want to guard their position, they're running from a matchup. The only thing people do is pick on you more, right? Like if you come into the league as a guy and they figure out like, oh man, he don't want to guard. It just puts you in a worse position because now every action that they run down the court
going to you
is at you. Find that coach that's the defensive coordinator. Lock in with that coach, because I'm going to tell you this. If you can learn the tendencies of players and the tendencies of teams, that right there alone is going to help you on the defensive end.
I don't know how to digest that, if I'm being quite honest. And I just heard it earlier today, because I understand from a basketball point what Acuff is saying. He doesn't want to back down from the challenge. If it's SGA, right? Let's say the Kings are playing the Thunder and Acuff is the pick for the Kings. Acuff is saying he wants to be on SGA, right? Okay, I respect that, but who's probably going to be on SGA? It's probably going to be Keegan Murray, right? It's going to be whoever your best defender is. And so from a team standpoint, it's what's best for the team. So you could take that in two ways. Let's listen to it one more time. And then there's one other thing that that doesn't hit me well in this. And I only take it one way, but let's listen one more time.
Yourself as a guy that's coming in like, no, I want to guard my position. How do you look at it?
Yeah, that's how I've always been. You can ask any of my coaches in college, no matter, how much like my defense, mistakes that I made every night, if they tried to put me on a 2 or a 3, I'm like, man, I'm not guarding no 3. Like I play the point, man. I'm guarding the point guard, man.
I ain't guarding no 2 or 3. So if the coach says this is a better matchup for the team, like you're not going to be cool with it. Again, this is a two-sided coin. It's either a competitive thing where it's like, I want the best player. If that's the point guard, I want to guard him, even though he's not Acuff, a great defender. And then there's the other side of the coin that's like, I'm rigid. This is how it's going to be. I'm going to have a problem if you don't have me guarding the man that is playing opposite of me at point guard. And then this is the one that I don't like.
Like, especially if it's like a matchup. Like, you not, Like if I'm not guarding you, you not guarding me. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no matchup. You know, we just hooping out here. So I'm definitely one of the guys. I like to guard my matchup for sure because I don't want nobody to get off, you know, more than me. So
That bugs me. I'm sorry. That raises my eyebrows. If it's a matchup, I don't want anybody to get off more than me. Coming from the point guard position. That maybe you can take it both ways. It's competitive, but at the point guard position, it's like, okay, well, if this person's having a game and I've got to get more than them, that where do y'all fall on that? Like, it just does not hit me well. And I understand, I don't want to be one-sided here. I can get where he's coming from saying that as a competitive basketball player. But as a rookie who was a high usage player in college coming into the NBA, when this team desperately needs to not miss on a point guard, Peter brings up Curry. Acuff's going to be on Curry.
Yourself as a guy that's coming in like, no, I want to guard my position. How do you look at it?
Yeah, that's how I've always been. You can ask any of my coaches in college, you know, no matter, you know, how much like my defense, you know, mistakes that I made every night, you know, if they tried to put me on a 2 or a 3, I'm like, man, I'm not guarding no 3. Like I play the point, man. I'm guarding the point guard, man. Like, especially if it's like a matchup. Like you not like if I'm not guarding you, you not guarding me. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no matchup. You know, we just hooping out here. So I'm definitely one of the guys. I like to guard my matchup for sure because I don't want nobody to get off, you know, more than me. So
you come in.
Oofa. All right. Give me your comments in the chat. How's that hit you? Let's listen to Kingston Fleming's.
Course of the season, it's very reminiscent of a guy whose Spurs fans can resonate in, De'Aaron Fox. And we talk about your game, right? That end-to-end speed, the vertical explosion of which you provide. I mean, you from one end to the other end is very reminiscent. When you get downhill, you're hard to stop. You get that momentum, the change of pace, the way you change directions in a blink of an eye. I mean, what do you see, and what are the comparisons to you and De'Aaron Fox?
Definitely love De'Aaron Fox. You know, I grew up, I talked to him a lot. You know,
Yeah.
Rasay Caldwell, my sister, plays on the SA Finest team. Their coach, it's all kind of tight together. But definitely De'Aaron Fox, watch him a lot. You know, how fast he is, how he plays under control. He's a great player for the Spurs, and I think he's definitely going to bounce back tonight, just me knowing what the person he is.
I love that you're already calling for the bounce back here. You played under Kelvin Sampson in college, and he said that you're a Batman all the time. What did he teach you? What did you learn?
Yeah, just being an everyday guy. You know, he said 3 people can never have a bad day. The coach, the best player, and the point guard. He said I'm 2 of them. So coming every single day in practice and just, you know, doing what coach says and locking in and playing for a coach like Coach Sam, it's all I can do, really locking in and doing what he says.
Kingston, you and I have a lot in common. One, we both from Texas. All right, then, hey, look, Texas Mr. Basketball, both of us, yes, and then I sir. got a son named Kingston. But I want to ask you this: speaking of University of Houston and Coach Sampson don't usually play freshmen. Coach Sampson it's a culture there, right? It's a culture. You know, I call it culture of men because there's more to it than just being on the basketball floor. Can you talk about like what that culture meant to you and how what you're going to take away from it heading to the NBA?
Yeah, Coach Sam, he's a competitor as a coach. So, you know, when I first came in there, I just want to show everyone on the team that I'm a player. You know, they can trust me. So being an everyday guy, like I said, and coming in, I mean, they were in the national championship the year before. So
right.
Showing the players on this team who I was and then just gaining trust day by day. You know, it's not built in one day, but going every single day and being that player, and he just gained trust in me.
You know, coming into the season, one of the knocks on you was that your jumper, that you couldn't shoot, but you proved the whole country wrong. You proved every critic, every scout wrong. What was it during the season that allowed you to be able to go out there and shoot with that level of confidence that we saw?
I don't think that's so. Let me give some gray area here. I don't think that's fair to talk about. Okay, you can't put that comment that Marcus Smart just made about him showing that he can be a shooter. We don't know from the 3-point line. The sample size just simply isn't there yet. Very much like Devin Carter, for instance, who his junior year was the best year he shot from beyond the arc. And you can see how that's translated to the NBA thus far.
Like I said, I mean, you gotta have confidence within. You know, I know the player I was. I know how much work I've put in.
Yeah.
But then having teammates that I had that really believed in me, and then the coaches, Coach Hollis Price, Coach Goldie, Coach Kellen, who really worked with me every single day. Mercy Miller, one of the guys y'all might know. We worked out every single day, and I am shooting late at night. So really put in those work behind the hours. So when you're there in the game, it's just second nature.
I know that it's very clear to me. You're an awesome interview on set. I imagine that you interview incredibly well with teams.
Yeah.
Shump was telling us the other day that during his pre-draft process, one of the questions that he was asked in a meeting is who's his favorite sibling. What's the wildest question that you were asked?
For me, the wildest question was if I could punch anyone in the world in the face, who would it be?
What was the answer?
I sat there, thought for a while, and I was like, I'm not going to answer that.
That is a smart young man.
So we heard from Kingston Fleming before at the combine. He talked about, I mean, really, and I know the Kings met with him at the combine. He ran down a very similar list of what Doug Christie was talking about that he's looking for in a point guard and what most teams would want in a true point guard. So that's Kingston. We'll play Acuff one more time. I'm not a fan of this.
Yourself as a guy that's coming in like, no, I want to guard my position. How do you look at it?
Yeah, that's how I've always been. You can ask any of my coaches in college, no matter, how much like my defense, mistakes that I made every night, if they tried to put me on a 2 or a 3, I'm like, man, I'm not guarding no 3. Like I play the point, man. I'm guarding the point guard, man. Like, especially if it's like a matchup. Like if I'm not guarding you, you not guarding me. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no matchup. We just hooping out here. So I'm definitely one of the guys. I like to guard my matchup for sure because I don't want nobody to get off, more than me. So
you come.
Whew. Thoughts? Hit me. He needs some media training. How you say that is something like, I will never back down from a challenge, but I definitely want to win above everything else. So whatever the team needs, I'll do it. Well, hopefully the fast guy knows how to run out the clock. Damn. You get the show.
You don't get the show.
Wow. Pick the best player, regardless of how they talk. Okay. We are the Kings, not the Thunder. Did you hear my explanation there? I was talking about a situation in which Acuff is referencing. If the Kings and Acuff is on the Kings and they're playing the Thunder and he wants to be on SGA, does that mean he's going to be disinterested if he's going to be on somebody else? Because you probably wouldn't have him on SGA. You'd have Keegan or somebody else on SGA. And then conversely, wanting to get more than who you're guarding, it doesn't sound team first. It could have been said much better. I don't think he's coming from a bad place, but it could have been, as somebody put, much better. I'm not going to say he's a head case. I don't know. But I will tell you, and I've said this because I've watched so much film on both of these players, that what you see in the way that they have done interviews, public interviews, you see more of what Fleming is saying come out in his game as opposed to the way that they have both been described and how they're describing themselves. You see that in both of their games. So, and I think that's, for me, like, if you've not sat down and watched almost every college game for both of these players, it probably hits you a little different. You don't think as much about it. I've watched all the games for each of these players, and you see that. And yeah, Cousins was definitely a head case. No, it wouldn't have worked. Deborah. however you say that, it would not have worked with Cousins. How many coaches did they go through? How many players did DeMarcus Cousins ruin? I could start going down the list. It would have never worked with Cousins. The only gray area that I am going to give to DeMarcus is he was a little bit ahead of his time when it came to big men that could shoot the three ball. George Karl did not want him beyond the arc. So would that maybe have made it work a little better if he was able to shoot the three more? Maybe. Cousins has been on teams with great players, and it hasn't worked for Cousins. So at what point is it Cousins or everybody else? Like, it's ridiculous. It's silly. I feel bad for him. He had all the talent in the world. Flem for the win. We'll see, man. We are 11 days out from the draft. Whichever player we pick, they need to sleep, speak, act on all the pillars. The pillars. I know. Is Acuff a no, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna go to that test. We need hostages. Or no, we need volunteers, not hostages. These guys, they're volunteers.
Both of these guys are volunteers.
No doubt.
Sure.
Now, Scott Perry, if he made that Charlotte trade and brought Bridges in, there would have been a lot of public pushback. A lot. So I don't think that that's going to go down. We want somebody to make Sacramento proud. Look, I think Max and Neek did a wonderful job of that last year. Wonderful job as rookies. But that's a forward, that's a center. We are talking about a point guard. Scott Perry has made it clear their goal this draft is to get a starter. They want a starter. Yeah, he's good. He's good too. He is. I don't know. And first off, unless the Kings move up, I don't think Acuff's going to be there. And I think the more prudent move for the Kings in this draft would be trying to get back into the first round and keeping 7 rather than trying to, or maybe if you think Fleming's is going to fall, you could talk to the Thunder. They're looking to give up 12 and 17. But to get back into the first round, because I said it yesterday, if you move up to get a player, let's say in speculation is you'd make a trade with the Clippers. If you move up, you are doubling down on the pressure to Rab. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Dab Rab. Got it. You're doubling down on the pressure that is going to be on that player. You are doubling down on your job as the GM, saying this is that guy that this team's never had. And you are doubling down on the fan base's expectations for that player. Now, conversely, the counter argument to moving up in this draft is the new draft lottery rules. That would be the counter argument, because if Scott Perry, because you're rebuilding, this is going to be a process. They don't want to build a team. It's going to be in the playoffs just 1 year. They want to build a sustainable winner. Like, that doesn't happen over one terrible season, 2 seasons. It's a couple seasons of building if you're doing it the right way. And with the new lottery rules, if you end up in the relegation zone, this could be the highest pick the Kings have in the next couple of years. So we'll see. Tay, any updates on Precious? Precious, I would be shocked if Precious is in Sacramento. I just don't know. I think the Kings would love to have him back. there's just not the money there right now. And that could very much change if there's a trade. I think, and I've maintained that it's Domantas Sabonis that would be traded. But I don't think the Kings are going to be able to get him back. There's just too many holes to fill right now on that roster and at that position. Real quick, want to talk Texas Tech football really quick. And the whole story, make it brief, with Brendan Sorsby, the gambling, the NCAA ruling him ineligible, and the Texas court with all judges that graduated from Texas Tech Law School put an injunction in against that. So Sorsby is now able to play, but there's a lot of pushback from the conferences. And Lynn's calling it. Lynn's calling it. You think they're going to win, Lynn? It's going to be like a road game. Yeah, I'm with Tay. I think it's over. I know. There's a lot of pushback from the conferences about Sorsby playing, and even teams in the future scheduling Texas Tech because of this. Because let's break this down to its most fundamental level. One of the worst things, probably the worst thing you can do, is gamble on sports. If you play in college or high school, or not high school, college and pro, okay, especially gambling on your own sport. If you want to do something worse than that, it's gambling on your own team. And that's what Sorsby did. And Sorsby, and I thought Jim Rome made a damn fabulous point. This is his point, not mine. Since Sorsby was gambling on his own team, the times that he didn't gamble on his team, was that an indication that you should gamble against his team? It's a very good point. But Sorsby stepped up, said that I have a gambling addiction. He went to treatment. But that does not change the fact that you openly gambled on the sport. And now Sorsby has become bigger than the team. Think about some of these conferences that are saying we are not going to play Texas Tech. We are looking for ways to vote Texas Tech out of the conference. What about the other 90 athletes, 90 players at Texas Tech? What about them? Like, you are literally putting yourself as Sorsby ahead of the program and all of your teammates. I can only imagine what it's like in that locker room. But now Texas Tech's coach, he was at an event. He was asked about the situation going on with Sorsby, and something we've talked about here on the channel. And I absolutely hammered Mike Vrabel for using mental illness, using counseling, anything to benefit your mental health, using that as a shield, as a PR tool. And that's exactly what he did by missing the last day of the draft. And by semantics, he was not at the draft for the third day with the Patriots, but he was there digitally because he had to go to marriage counseling. Well, any of us, I openly go to counseling. I openly take care of my mental health and maintain my mental health. Anybody knows it's usually about an hour per session, right? And why did it have to be on the third day of the draft? It was a PR move, and it's exactly what the Patriots do. The Patriots are a bottom-feeding, just disgusting organization. They just are, with some of the stuff that has happened in the past and the way that it's been handled. However, back to Texas Tech. This is how Texas Tech's coach answered the question about Brendan Sorsby just a couple of days ago.
Here on out, between now and the season, appeals from the NCAA or anything like that could prevent him from actually playing at this point?
I'm glad you asked that question. Because Here's what I do want to say before I answer that question. And trust me, I think y'all will understand this. Will Hammond is coming back from an ACL. He is recovering from an injury. So what we expect Will Hammond is hopefully week 1, week 2. We hope that, like he's recovering from an injury. Brendan Sorsby is recovering from an addiction. He's recovering. Like, I've sat down with this young man multiple times, and the things that he is going through and what he's been through is serious. And I have a number of people in my family that were addicted to different stuff. And so I've seen what addiction does to people. And so us even saying to the point before we get to the legal part that he could be ready week 3 against Houston is still a stretch, because guess what? He's still recovering. Like, you don't necessarily know between now and then exactly, do I see a different person? I know it sounds crazy, but I do. Do I see a kid that feels like he's got 1,000 pounds of weight lifted off of him? He's made the statement, that he feels like this is a moment that can actually change his life. Now, going back to yours.
If you watch the Jim Rome show, let me summarize that in Jungle Tourette's. I don't fish on a boat. I fish on a boat. That is exactly what that is. And to me, this is borderline, again, putting addiction, mental health, recovery out as a shield. Coach said that he has family members that have battled addictions that are in recovery. I've been in recovery. The stuff they teach you in recovery is making sure that you don't put yourself into the situations that could cause a relapse. You surround yourself with a good support system, right? Well, I'm not debating that gambling isn't an addiction. It is. You are 100% contradicting yourself by saying he is taking his recovery seriously and comparing it, by the way, to a player that tore his ACL and is in recovery. That's how ridiculous it is. But you can't say he is taking his recovery serious, but he's going to return to the football field. Because the football field and sports in general are at the just of his addiction. It's not slots. It's not 21. It's not Hold'em poker. It's sports gambling. And he's going to go right back into the sport that he was gambling on? That doesn't make any sense. Brett Favre had an addiction to painkillers, okay? He openly spoke about the difficulties coming back to football without taking painkillers. That's a fair association. That's a more than fair association, and it is much different than what's going on with Sorsby. It's night and day. Because Brett Favre was addicted to painkillers. He wasn't addicted to playing football. It's insane how people like DeMar DeRozan, and so many others. Icebox, who has a foundation. It's spitting in those people's faces, man. Like, what are we doing? The coach compared the recovery of an ACL to Brendan Sorsby's recovery as one in the same. Here's what needs to happen and what should have happened, and I think will happen. Brendan Sorsby is going to have to step away from the program and not play for Texas Tech. Period. End of story. What should have happened is Brendan Sorsby should have entered the supplemental NFL draft. That window has now passed, which was the entire reason that they filed the injunction. So he would have time to get into the supplemental draft. The other players on his team, he's kind of disrespecting them. He's putting himself before the team. And if you're truly in recovery, that's not what you do. So shame on the coach of Texas Tech. I can't 100% put it on Sorsby because it's not Sorsby saying that. But if that's the line of thinking and that's the rhetoric that they're going to put out, you are just inflaming it and you are making it so much worse. I just don't, I don't see any way that Brendan Sorsby will be stepping onto the field for Texas Tech this season. I don't. Every team would defend their players that got in trouble. You would got your head up your ass. Dude, two separate conversations. Defending your players that got in trouble is much different than gambling on your team, my man. That is like the death penalty when it comes to sports, usually. It's the death penalty in the NBA. It's the death penalty in the NFL. It was the death penalty for Pete Rose in MLB. He did the worst thing you can do in sports. And just because you go to recovery for it does not mean, because you go to recovery and admit that you have an addiction to sports gambling and you made over 9,000 wagers on college teams and your own, that's far beyond the line of defending players that got in trouble, especially when it's a catch-22 and he's going to come back and play college football. Do you see the difference there? If a player gets in trouble off the field, gets in a car accident, if a player gets a DUI, you can't compare the two. And yes, you would defend them. This, though, is borderline indefensible because of what Sorsby did. It's a big difference. You've got to see the line between the two. Old Texas Tech man, 9144. I respect what you're saying, but I don't think my head's up my ass on this one. I think I'm right on. Brett Favre was in Something About Mary. Nice. Yeah, Peter's got the Yahoo Pick'em League. If you want to get into that, thanks for him for signing it up. AP, we just did it, man. Go back and rewind it. We just hit the A-Cuff and the Fleming stuff. I'll give you A-Cuff's sound drop that we played with Draymond Green that did not particularly set well with me.
Yourself as a guy that's coming in like, no, I want to guard my position. How do you look at it?
Yeah, that's how I've always been. You can ask any of my coaches in college, no matter, how much like my defense, mistakes that I made every night, if they tried to put me on a 2 or a 3, I'm like, man, I'm not guarding no 3. Like I play the point, man. I'm guarding the point guard, man. Like, especially if it's like a matchup. Like if I'm not guarding you, you not guarding me. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? Ain't no matchup. we just hooping out here. So I'm definitely one of the guys. I like to guard my matchup for sure because I don't want nobody to get off, more than me. So
You coming?
Weird. Maybe as somebody put, and I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt that, needs some more media seasoning. But coming in that does not sound like a point guard to me. It just a point that doesn't necessarily sound like Doug Christie's explanation on the point guard that the Kings need.
Right off the bat, point guard, this is in this league, if you don't have that position, you really don't have a chance. It's the quarterback. It's, they say quarterback in football and different things, and that's a tough position. But this one is about as difficult as it gets. You're running a team, you're running a show, you're responsible for the guys on the court. You're quarterback in the defense, you're quarterback in the offense. This guy needs a shot, that guy needs a shot. When do I need to do my thing? What does the coach want? Am I representing him the right way out here? I'm the head of the snake. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, I've said I don't think he's going to be there. I've said that as well. Okay, we're going to push Phil Mickelson over till next week, but just know his fall from grace and whatever is going on with him, bizarre. Grant got on me when we were on the radio, and I got on Phil for his statement about not playing at the Masters, in part because he's been a part of all these different controversies that surround insider trading. It surrounds supplements. It surrounds family health issues. And now he has been kicked out of his home club, golf club, for allegedly touching someone at the club. The allegation is Mickelson approached a female clubhouse employee and made non-consensual, inappropriate physical contact with her. She rejected his advances and reported it to her supervisors. Well, Phil, we'll talk about it Monday. The authorities are not involved, and looks like Phil's got a problem.
I can't control my horny level.
I don't know why this sound drop has to make such an appearance so often.
I can't control my horny level.
Think about this. The home club, the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe, California, near San Diego. You're Phil freaking Mickelson. The club provided immediate support to the employee, conducted a thorough independent investigation, located and confronted Mickelson mid-round on the course, asked him to leave the premises. He departed before finishing his round, revoked and terminated his membership, removed his personal display from the clubhouse because he cannot.
I can't control my horny level.
Unbelievable. Crazy. So that story continues to develop. We're going to talk some wrestling. I was just going to get back to that. So it's just me for the wrestling segment. I'll give you a few different thoughts that I have from what I've seen over the past week or so. So I love what's going on with Chad Gable. Awesome stuff. And by the way, Adam, who's usually here, Mark Uso and Nooch from Parts Unknown, they are occupied at the moment. Apparently, Adam did not take the PJ on his corporate trip, and he's flying amongst the rest of us common folk, and his flight is delayed. But Adam, he kind of takes for the wrestling segment, Adam juices up because he reads the dirt sheets. I don't read the dirt sheets. you're wondering what the dirt sheets are, it's like it's the insider news. It's like the rumors. So he was really emotional about the Chad Gable and the mask versus mask match that we talked about last week. And it looks like Chad Gable is getting a massive push, probably not to the WWE championship level, probably to the intercontinental level. Chad Gable has never held a championship in WWE, so I absolutely love and hope that continues. I like the direction that his character's going. Yeah, you know what, Horse, you want to play a game? We could play the wrestling game where I shoot you out a couple of wrestler names and you tell me if they're real or fake. Horse is so good at that. Trevor Bauer was accused of stuff like that wasn't actually true. This is very true. The authorities, though, are not being involved in this, which is interesting. Peter had a question about Hulk Hogan. Let's see, where are we at? No, Siri, you are not part of the show today. Thank you, Siri. No, Siri, you were fired. What are you doing here? Where was Peter's wrestling question? Haunted Horse like, no. It was about Hulk Hogan. Oh, here we go. What about wrestling? Clearwater, I believe is what you mean. Police reported that Hulk Hogan died of natural causes, yet there were specialists in the room tending to his needs. Here's what I know about Hulk Hogan's passing. He had and this is from his daughter, Brooke Hogan. I believe she talked to TMZ and a couple other places. He had some surgery, and they think that it is possible the surgery was botched, and there was an artery that was actually severed during the surgery. Oh, you mean Coldwater? That's interesting, because I thought it was Clearwater. So anyways, that was going around. There was a lot going around about him being on opiates and medications. My understanding is this is ongoing. I don't think what Peter's talking about, natural causes, meaning the levels of medication that were in Hulk Hogan's system did not meet a toxic level or an LD level, the lethal dose, where they would say that caused his death based off of what he normally was taking before and after surgery. But I would expect, here's the thing, because they're not the medical examiner for the county, the city, whatever you want to say, they are not going to say, oh, he died of a surgical mistake. That's not their place. Their place is to say, was this a homicide? Was this a suicide? Was this a natural occurring death? And it's up to the family to prove from there whether it was a mistake at surgery. I know that there's been an autopsy done that was private and not done by the county examiner. So my guess is, if there is any merit to the claim that there was an artery that they accidentally hit during the surgery for Hulk, that's going to be a separate lawsuit, and that will continue privately and civilly rather than publicly. Basically, the wife didn't drug him up. He didn't take more meds than he was supposed to. That's what the county examiner has determined. So I'm with you. It seems a little bit weird the way that all that went down. So notice when Lynn comes in here chirping about the Spurs, they lose. Jinx. No, he did that for game 3. He was on it for game 3. Jason and Horst talking about medical stuff. Let's see. Yeah. I think that's really it with WWE. I'm thinking I'm looking forward very much. Super looking forward to the debut of Blake Monroe on the main roster, hoping that's tonight. The European tour has, I believe, finished, so they're coming back domestically. So that's kind of where wrestling's at right now. I don't really have, I'm not the funny guy. I'm the one that's usually kind of steering the conversation. So unless you have any more wrestling questions for me, that's your wrestling segment. And we'll hopefully have Nooch back next week. We'll have Adam. Adam might be off for the next couple weeks. He might be delayed another week at the airport. We'll have to check with him. So anyways, all right. So basketball tomorrow night. Are we going to be talking about the Larry O raised by the Knicks on Monday? We'll see. Tomorrow night, we will have a post-game show for the finals. So make sure that you join us for that. Grant and I will break down game numero cinco. It'll be interesting. You know, here's what's going to be interesting. No wrestling. Lucky me. Yeah. Here's what's going to be super interesting for me is one, who's going to be the referee assignment. I thought Zarba's team was by far the best of the series. So we'll know that it's usually about 24 hours before the game. So maybe we'll know that sometime later tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. And then also, again, the amount of Spurs fans that are going to not be in the building, the amount of New York fans that are going to be in the building, because New York fan has bought in 50 to 60% of the tickets on the secondary market, as we had kind of pointed out earlier on the show. There were already a lot of Knicks fans in San Antonio because it was cheaper for Knicks fans to get a flight, get a hotel, and get a ticket into that building to see the Knicks in the finals than to buy a ticket at MSG. So I expect there's going to be a strong Knicks presence. No doubt. I would have expected it before seeing 50 to 60% of the fans that have bought tickets. So anyways, make sure, if you don't mind, to check out the King's Court podcast for the days that you can't stick around for the entire show. We have revamped that, and we've got some other big things in the works. Hoist knows what I'm talking about with that because I've been working with him a little bit on it, but we've redone it. So it's a best of. You'll get some exclusive stuff over there when we get calls. Your calls will be over there as well. We kind of summarize the day, so you're not getting 2 hours of interaction back and forth with the chat on the podcast. So it will be out here in just about maybe about an hour. So Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your podcasts, we will get that up for you. I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. It's kind of a weird night tonight. Only sports that we have going, like big games, is the USA soccer game. Oh, soccer, man. Soccer. I don't know if I can get into soccer. Lynn, man. Lynn is like trying to have a heel turn. He's trying to make a heel turn. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. It's good stuff. So tomorrow night, Grant will be back with me. We'll do the post-game show. Appreciate y'all. Be safe this weekend. Stay cool. It is hot out there. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night. Have a great, great, safe weekend. Court is dismissed.